Good morning, New Brunswick, and welcome to the New Brunswick Today show for today, Thursday, September 29th. We're coming at you from our studio here in downtown New Brunswick. We want to thank you for joining us on this cloudy day here in the Hub City. We've got a great show for you today. A lot has happened since our last broadcast, and we want to catch you up on it. But first, the weather. Today it's cloudy and 61 degrees. Slight chance of rain shower later. It's also a little windy with gusts between 10 and 20 miles an hour. The high temperature today is 66, and the low tonight is going to be 58 degrees. It's a little more likely to rain tonight. Right now the Weather Channel is predicting 70% chance of rain this evening. Traffic advisories for today. Somerset Street is going to be closed between Lewis and Harvey Streets until 4 p.m. And Wilcox Road in Rutgers Village is going to be closed until 4 p.m. today as well. Now, to all of you watching us live on our Facebook page, please do us a favor, share this video with your friends right now. We've got a great show coming up. We want you to share it with as many people as you can. You can also comment on this video with your questions and feedback, as well as our Twitter account. That's at NB_today, and we'll actually respond to your messages. Now, later today, this is also going to be available on our YouTube channel, as well as the NewBrunswickToday.com website. Now, our top story today is an important one. How safe is New Brunswick's water? The city has had way more than its fair share of trouble in the water recently. We worked hard to bring you the full story on the NewBrunswickToday.com website, but the story keeps changing. So here is the latest. So for almost 2 days, residents of several New Brunswick neighborhoods were forced to boil their water or risk harm to their health after a 20-inch water main broke underneath a ramp connecting routes 1 and 18 in New Brunswick. The problems affected Rutgers Village, Edgebrook, Clifton Avenue, and Hoffman Avenue, and you're seeing some pictures taken by a resident of Rutgers Village right now. The city tells us that water utility staff was on scene for about 23 hours while those repairs were conducted, and meanwhile City Hall was printing hundreds of copies of a letter alerting residents to the boil water advisory and was actually hand delivering them to the affected neighborhoods, they tell us. Now, the timing couldn't be worse because the boil water advisory comes on the heels of the city's admission that it has yet again committed a water quality violation. As we reported on Friday at NewBrunswickToday.com, the New Brunswick Water Utility, which also provides drinking water to customers in Milltown and Franklin, has admitted to violating drinking water standards yet again. After more than 2 years without being caught violating state or federal drinking water laws, the city was issued a formal notice of violation on August 25th after 3 of its regular water testing sites were found to have exceeded the allowable amount of a common contaminant. Almost a month later, the public is now learning that this time it was excessive levels of total trihalomethanes, or TTHM. They're organic chemicals that are the byproduct of chlorine disinfection, and that was the contaminant that caused the utility to be in violation. Quote, sometimes if the treatment's not done exactly right, it produces these byproducts, Larry Hanna of the NJ Department of Environmental Protection told us. He also confirmed that his agency, a state agency, is forcing the city to notify the public of that violation. And the city put something on their website. This is a direct quote. Quote, it is important to note that if TTHM levels continue to exceed the standard over a series of years, those who consume the water could be at higher risk of developing cancer or experiencing problems with their liver, kidneys, or central nervous system. And that's from that announcement posted to the city website also on Friday, September 23rd. Now, in the past, the city has taken several months or even years to alert the public to problems with the quality of the drinking water here being distributed to residents and businesses in New Brunswick, Milltown, and Franklin. It's just the latest development now in the ongoing saga at the New Brunswick Water Utility, which saw its former licensed operator imprisoned this year following a guilty plea on charges of public corruption. Now, back in 2007, Water Director Sean Maloney committed suicide after learning he was the target of a federal investigation, and a temporary arrangement for Business Administrator Thomas Laughlin III to replace Maloney and hold down 2 cabinet positions simultaneously lasted 5.5 years, not exactly temporary. Now, during that time, water treatment plant operator Edward O'Rourke falsified records to cover up problems that in some cases should have resulted in the city immediately alerting their customers to boil all water before using it. Now, officials took O'Rourke, a donor to Mayor James Cahill, out of operational control of that water treatment plant in June 2013, but O'Rourke remained on the payroll for several more months, as we reported. He finally resigned in 2015, and now he's in state prison. He was the only individual to be punished in that scandal and got a 3-year sentence after agreeing to have his water treatment license suspended for 5 years, and he also paid a fine. The city government's struggle to recover from that scandal has led to a number of additional debacles, curious personnel changes, and even an unpopular privatization effort. Now, after 15 months with a private company playing a key role in the public agency, which included a series of additional violations under licensed operators from New Jersey American Water, the city decided not to renew its expensive contract with them in September 2015. The city kept those violations under wraps before announcing them more than 4 months after they occurred. Now, the latest water quality violation in the hub city also comes on the heels of a report that said New Brunswick's water, actually drinking water all over New Jersey, has traces of chromium-6, the contaminant made famous by activist Erin Brockovich. Now, we asked about that report at last week's city council meeting, and we're going to play that for you in just a second, that discussion. Now, what's astonishing about this video is not that they answered our question that we asked, they answered it thoroughly. It's that even though we asked about not one, but 2 different types of water contamination, no one came clean and admitted to the recent violation, even though they had likely known about it for several weeks. Now, the city council members who were there have not responded to our question about whether or not they knew at that time about the water quality violation. So here is the video featuring Water Director Mark Lavenberg responding to concerns about chromium, but not mentioning TTHN. Take a look. Mark Lavenberg responding to concerns about chromium, but not...
Actually, I appreciate a question like this because there's an awful lot of things going on in social media today. It's rather rampant of what's going on. Chromium is an issue that's very near and dear to my heart. In my prior work, I've also worked a lot in wastewater systems, and I've had to deal with a lot of situations of chromium remediation issues and stuff. It generally is never a problem in drinking water. Okay, there's a standard set by the EPA of 100 parts per billion. Okay, not per million. So it's a very, very low number. Okay, there's an advocacy group that has been inspired by the movie, the Aaron Brockovich movie, and they have come up with a number. Okay, that is not 100 parts per billion, but 0.02 parts per billion. That is such a minute number that scientific instrumentation, okay, has to be extremely advanced to measure a number possibly that low. I mean, I've been researching this all day because it's spreading like wildfire, whether it's in my town or other towns. Okay, and lo and behold, there's a website from this advocacy group that has all these sites in New Jersey. I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, 138 sites, which is like every site in New Jersey. And lo and behold, New Brunswick was on the list. My hometown was on the list. Every other system I've ever worked with was on the list. When we look up the data, okay, of the tests that have been done, okay, historically, it always comes back as a less than number. It's less than what the machine can actually read. It's such a small number. The limit's 100, but the results are coming in at less than 1. Okay, sometimes 0.07, sometimes 0.7, sometimes 0.5, but that's as low as the number goes. I can't come up with a number that's lower than what the instrument can actually read. And it's not just a New Jersey issue. It's not a New Brunswick issue, not a New Jersey issue. CNN has a report out now. It affects 218 million people in this country, okay, which is nearly every person in the country that's on a public water system. So I appreciate this information getting out because it gives me the opportunity to, kind of throw the numbers out there, tell you what's going on. And, the number that they have out there is really unrealistic. There's no scientific data to really back up a number justifying that low. I would agree if we had a number that was readable, then that would certainly be cause for investigation of what the source is. But what the source is actually the issue. It's not like there's a treatment out there that actually removes chromium-6 in this case. So I appreciate the question. Yeah, I love my chromium.
Thank you. Just a couple follow-up questions. I'd like to know, when was the last time the city tested for this contaminant, and what were the results?
I believe 2015. I forget the exact month, but I know the result was less than 5.
I can tell you that the Consumer Confidence Report for 2015 showed chromium-6 as not detected, and the 2014 CCR said the same reading. I did not go further back in time.
But that's the confusion. So you could say, like, what they're saying is, there's a problem, but I had a reading that was done by a test that is approved by the state and the EPA of non-detectable. So is it really fair to get thrown into that group?
Thank you for the thorough answers. Wouldn't this be the type of thing that you think should be explained here at these council meetings? Or?
Just explain it.
Okay, but wouldn't you think this should be? I shouldn't have to ask, or do you think that a lot of people read those articles today? I think you would want to get your side of the story out there.
And it's stuff aside. I understand there's something going on. Can you explain it?
Well, in all fairness, your government was all abuzz about it today. There was a lot of conversation, whether it was with Jennifer or with Lex, a lot of conversation with the engineer. It's the buzz of what's going on. So we're certainly not asleep on this. If there were something to report, it would be my duty to report that to the council.
I would think, call me crazy, if I were on the council, I'd have every agenda, every single agenda would have.
And welcome back to the New Brunswick Today Show. I'm Charlie Cradaville. We'll, of course, have more for you on this story as it evolves. The city is expected to send out a formal announcement of that violation in the near future. For now, you can check out our article about it at newbrunswicktoday.com. Now, the really great thing about our show is we let you into our newsroom a little bit so you can find out about what stories we are working on and what you can expect to see in the newspaper. So Friday was a crazy day here in the New Brunswick and Piscataway area. First, a cyclist was injured after being struck by a Nestle water delivery truck at the corner of Easton and Hamilton on September 23rd. New Brunswick police confirmed that the female victim was taken to a nearby hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. But 5 days later, police still declined to give much additional information about the crash, saying that the crash was, quote, still under investigation and not yet completed. The quote from Captain Miller is, "At this time, there have been no criminal charges filed and none are pending." That's New Brunswick Police Captain J.T. Miller. He tells us also that the motor vehicle accident report is going to be posted online free of charge in a timely manner on the city website upon its completion. Now, then later that day at approximately 4:50 p.m., the RUPD and the Piscataway Police Department responded to Lot 103, which is located near the Recreation Center on the Livingston campus and across from the dormitories known as the Quads. Now, according to eyewitnesses, a man was armed with a machete and another man armed with a handgun. Reportedly, an argument between the two escalated into a violent altercation. Now, the individual with the handgun apparently fired at a parked vehicle before fleeing in a black SUV towards Road 1 and away from the campus. That's according to a RUPD crime alert at 8:29 p.m. that night. Now, an email sent to Rutgers students, faculty, and staff on the night of September 24th reported that 2 men who are not affiliated with the university were arrested and charged in connection with that altercation. Jose C. Agbo, a 22-year-old from Bloomfield, was charged with simple assault, unlawful possession of a weapon, and possession of a weapon for an unlawful purpose, while Malcolm V. Webb, a 22-year-old man from Newark, was charged with simple assault. Now, one thing that RUPD didn't explain is how so many cars got damaged in this incident. You're seeing some photos from our reporter Chris Roberts, who's working on this story, and you can expect to see it very soon on the NewBrunswickToday.com website. And if you check out that website, you'll see some really excellent journalism from our team. Right now, the top story online is David Schatz's enlightening look at federal regulations that are in the works regarding so-called payday loans. You can also read Stephen Roca's excellent recap of the New Brunswick-Sayreville football game, and Christian Angelis's great article on the 35th anniversary of the New Jersey Film Festival, which takes place right here in New Brunswick. Now, in other news, Dave Schatz has got the story on Hub City healthcare giant Johnson & Johnson's announcement that it will spend $4.33 billion to acquire Abbott Medical Optics, which is based in Santa Ana, California. J&J said the deal is going to help, quote, strengthen global leadership in eye health and add cataract and refractive surgery to their vision care holdings. The investment's going to include eye care products in the cataract surgery, laser refractive surgery, and consumer eye health fields, said J&J. Now, Abbott Medical Optics is a subsidiary of Chicago-based Abbott Laboratories and global leader in ophthalmic surgery, reported gross sales last year of $1.1 billion last year. Also, intrepid reporter Carlos Ramirez has the story on a 38-year-old Franklin Township business owner who has been jailed on $250,000 bail and charged with sex crimes in Edison and New Brunswick, as well as an interesting charge of computer theft. So Thomas Canales, who you're seeing now, was arrested at his South Lawrence Avenue home in the Somerset section of Franklin Township on September the 1st. Canales was arrested on charges stemming from at least 3 separate incidents, including sexually assaulting and endangering the welfare of a child, and lewdness. That's for allegedly exposing himself to a 7-year-old girl in New Brunswick on July the 3rd. He owns a security company based in Somerset called Scope It Out, according to authorities, who also charged him in connection with his work installing a surveillance system at a private residence. So the charge of computer theft came after he allegedly installed a surveillance system in a customer's home and then monitored the residence from his computer and his mobile phone. So if you're a college student or a parent of one, you should definitely read Danielle Bruno's excellent piece on student debt. She reported there are at least 1,692 lawsuits regarding the New Jersey Higher Education Student Assistance Authority, also known as HESA, the largest state-run student loan program in the United States. Now, HESA has a total of $1.9 billion in outstanding debt in the form of unpaid interest-bearing loans, and their interest rates can be almost double the rate of those in Massachusetts, which runs the second largest state-based student loan program in the nation. Now, HESA declined to comment for Danielle's article on its NJ class loan program and the high interest rates, citing that they're currently undertaking a review of the administration of the program. Now, that agency, HESA, has come under fire recently after an investigative report showed they have, quote, extraordinarily stringent rules that can easily lead to financial ruin, and the fact that it charges steeper rates than similar federal programs and other state-run lending programs. Under HESA rules, quote, repayments cannot be adjusted based on income, and borrowers who are unemployed or facing other financial hardships are given few breaks. That's according to a report by Annie Waldman, a joint effort of ProPublica and the New York Times. Now, in Waldman's article, features prominently a New Jersey resident, Marcia de Oliveira Longetti, who shared her story of grief after her son was murdered, but HESA still required her to repay his student loans. Now, last week we brought you the story of hundreds of students at New Brunswick Middle School who are now no longer receiving free transportation to school if they live within 2 miles of the school. So the district said it didn't have the money, claiming it would cost between $350,000 and $400,000 to restore the so-called courtesy busing to the students. So we have a big story coming out that will show you what happened to $2 million that the district is now paying to a nurse who worked for the district for many years and actually said that they didn't accommodate her disability. She had a vision problem, and that case was happening right across the street in the Middlesex County Courthouse. And we will bring you that story of how that trial ended up in a $2 million settlement. So perhaps, if not for that settlement, the district might have more money to help these students get to school. So keep an eye out for that story. Also, Carlos Ramirez has an excellent story coming out about the case that's coming up with, the board meeting that happened last Tuesday, where a lot of parents came out to speak out against that. Now, we also have coverage for you on our website of another very high-profile, high-stakes case that's going on, or actually went on, just concluded at the Middlesex County Courthouse across the street from us. So you can read about that on our website. But even better, we'll do you one better. We have the reporter here who wrote the story. This is she's got a story about the case, or actually cases, against former Perth Amboy Police Chief Benjamin Ruiz. So you can read her story, but also on the program today, we're pleased to have Jennifer Goldberg with us. Jennifer, please come on set and join us. Thanks for joining us again.
Thank you for having me.
So Jennifer, last week you brought us the story of the former Perth Amboy Police Director. Now, you were actually in court today and you have an update for everybody about what happened.
Okay, so yeah, today there was a pre-indictment case, which basically is where Benjamin Ruiz, he was charged with trespassing and impersonating a police officer on May 31st. And so right now at the courthouse, at the Middlesex County Courthouse, he will actually be hearing when his court case of those criminal charges will actually take place. But prior to that, we did have a story that his other charges of official misconduct, witness tampering, and theft of services, he was actually found non-guilty on all of those cases. So now we will be covering the, once we hear of the court trial of this impersonating a police officer and the trespassing, we will be reporting that. So basically on May 31st, Ruiz was arrested and charged with trespassing and impersonating a police officer, like I said, after he was confronted by the owner and several employees at a convenience store on Smith Street. So according to a press release from the Middlesex County Prosecutor's Office, Ruiz had been confronted at this store several times between February 1st and May 18th and suggested he was there to watch an unidentified neighbor. These current charges occurred after the fact. Ruiz had been suspended without pay in December of 2014. So, in addition, a sexual harassment settlement was filed against Benjamin Ruiz by a civilian employee, and that was tabled at the Perth Amboy City Hall caucus meeting. So this is a completely different case. It's actually a complaint that was filed against Benjamin Ruiz, and the settlement is actually not supposed to exceed $150,000, but that will again be readdressed at another time. Yes.
Thanks for that excellent report, and thank you for covering these cases. It's really interesting. So you were the only one who reported on this sexual harassment civil suit that's been filed against him, but it's actually not the first time he's gotten into trouble for his work. Accusations of abusing his authority as a police chief. Tell us, back when he was the chief, what did you find out about cases against him or allegations against him?
Yeah, so like you said, these are not the only allegations that have been against him. In 2014, or actually in 2013, he was intervened within a domestic violence altercation that happened. He had actually had a relationship, an extramarital affair with the lady that was involved that called the police department, and she said that there was an altercation with her and her husband. The police went over there, and they actually found really that there was not grounds to arrest the
Was it like
man.
a physical fight?
There was, according to her testimony, or her quote, was that she was pushed. So that happened, but they arrested the man and they put stopped him with a,
A restraining order?
Yes.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
so basically Benjamin Ruiz got himself involved in this case, and without saying that he knew this woman in that way, he kind of pushed for there to be charges against the man, it
Yes,
seems like?
yeah, exactly.
Interesting. And so that was a story that came out while he was the chief, but it wasn't the only one. There was also another case of him intervening to like help a landlord friend of his. Is that correct?
Yeah, so in July of 2014, while he was still the chief of police, he actually called the police headquarters to have police officers go and collect rent for a landlord.
Wow.
And the landlord is actually another figure of, a lot of going on. He actually was arrested back in 2007 for dealing prescription drugs, and he also has many accusations against him for, harassing his tenants. So Benjamin Ruiz had his officers go over there and try and collect rent for this guy.
Wow. So abusing the police power by having cops go and kind of hassle these tenants for rent on behalf of this shady character.
Yeah, it's a little intimidating. That's definitely should be separated from police work to go and get involved in these personal matters. The landlord was also allegedly, there was videos presented that he tried to run over one of his tenants
With a car.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So bad track record for Chief Ruiz, but he's not in office anymore. He was suspended, then eventually fired as a result of these recent charges. You've been covering the case very well. And tell folks what can we expect with this new case that's coming up? Is it going to be before a different judge or?
Yeah, so it will actually be under a different judge, Judge Jimenez. It will take place at the county courthouse. We will find out exactly when that date will come of the next court hearing.
Great. And so you were there today. What was the proceeding today? It was just an arraignment?
Yeah, so basically Benjamin Ruiz was going to go in with his defense attorney, Brian Neary, who was actually his defense attorney on the last case. And he's going to plead non-guilty to his the complaints against trespassing and impersonating a police officer. And then the judge that was presiding over that will tell him when he should come back in for his trial.
Okay, so thanks for going there and covering that for us. Thanks for your excellent work. You can read that online at NewBrunswickToday.com. Jennifer Goldberg, looking forward to reading much more of your work in the future. Thank you all for joining us. We are working hard to get out our next issue of New Brunswick Today newspaper, so keep an eye out for that. And we will be back tomorrow with another interview with one of our great reporters, as well as all the latest news from the Hub City. Thanks for joining us. Please share this video and keep watching the New Brunswick Today show. Thanks.